Coding is the process of using a programming language like Python, Scratch, and Java to give instructions to a computer. It's the literacy of the software of the world. We see that we are using WhatsApp websites which are from coding. As we resolve, this says that this house believes that this house would make coding a compulsory subject in all secondary schools. We see that coding, this is the process of using a programming language like Python, Scratch, or Java to give instructions to a computer. It's literacy for the software world. For example, the apps we use like WhatsApp, TikTok, websites, we see results of coding. Compulsory subjects, a mandatory part of a nation curriculum that every student must take and pass to graduate, similar to mathematics or English. Where we see that coding in secondary schools, if it's made compulsory, we see that coding can enlarge that economic proof in the world, where we see that Uganda is going to have is going to move from technology consumers to technology creators, and we are going to use our technology. And secondary schools in Uganda, this refers to the online level from senior 1 to senior 4 and advanced level senior 5 to senior 6, where is the aim of ethical and moral development and skills like coding they are taught in secondary schools. We see that coding is the Latin of the 21st century. It teaches logic, problem solving, and critical thinking. By making it compulsory, Uganda ensures that every child in the country is going to study coding as a compulsory subject, because we see that we are going to transform Uganda from a consumer of technology to a creator of technology, whereby we are going to get those people who are well equipped, who can create the thing that they can use. We are going to move from somewhere where we see that we are going to remove that over dependence on those countries that use those things of coding, and we make our own technology that is going to be got from coding. And we see that, like in Rwanda, there was economic future proof where we saw that that company called Microsoft organization brought out that policy that where one child should be given a laptop, where that child is going to use that laptop, acquire these coding schools, and can put those coding skills in everything that he does, hence making him be competent in the job market. We see that coding is going to integrate to the entrepreneurship of the country, where we see that many jobs right now we are in, they acquire that coding skill to make them move on. Like we see in many jobs, they acquire those people who are using gadgets through coding. So we team affirmative, we say that this house would make coding a compulsory subject in all secondary schools, because compulsory subjects like mathematics and math, we say that they ensure that they give that skill of. So I learn my case. Ready? Final result. This house could make coding a compulsory subject in schools. Dear panel, the first farmer came here and talked about, try to explain the motion, but panel, I don't really agree with how he has explained this motion, because I was expecting some of the things. Making coding a compulsory subject, meaning that coding is something new. If coding is something new, we need to know. If it is a subject, we need to know. If it is a subject, we need to know how are we going to answer coding as a subject. Are we going to just answer coding? Learners don't know how to answer coding, so we need to know how will we answer coding. How will coding be attempted? Like, how will they set coding? We need to first tell us that the coding will be set like this. They will be able to answer this coding like this. Which teachers are going to teach coding? We need to first know which teachers are teaching coding, because we don't know saying that coding should be made a compulsory subject, yet we don't know teachers. So which teachers? Any teacher can teach coding. We don't think that any teacher can teach coding, that everyone can teach coding, because some teachers didn't offer this coding. You know that coding is not now in existence by the time this teacher was there. So you can't just tell that coding is going to be made a compulsory subject and just come and tell me that yes, it will be made a compulsory subject, yet we are not having a teacher who are going to teach. We don't know how it will be set, we don't know how it will be answered, and we are saying that which tools are you going to use to make coding a compulsory subject? They are afraid to tell us that the tools and these tools and the tools are going to use this and this and this. So again, they came here, but we are talking about making coding a compulsory subject in schools. We are not talking about in secondary schools, not about in primary schools, but now that I'm telling us that making coding a compulsory subject in schools, meaning I can refer it to a primary school. So these people are afraid to understand, to tell us which school are they talking? Are they talking about the primary schools? Are they talking about the secondary school? Now, guess what? We are saying where coding is made a compulsory subject in primary school. Guess how? Those learners in primary, can they afford coding? Can they carry out coding? Learners in nursery, can they do coding? I don't think that learners in nursery can do coding. So the team farmers have failed to explain to us that which school are they talking? And I think this is the first role of the first farmer. You had to. I felt that she had to come to explain the motion, but I think the first farmer has failed to explain for us the motion. And we as the team here, we are saying that coding can't be made a compulsory subject in schools because we are saying we're even making it. It's like by just creating something. We are saying that now coding should be made a compulsory subject. You are failed to explain to the student what coding is. You are afraid to class, how will they cater coding, how will they use coding, how will they answer coding, which teachers will they teach coding. You are afraid to tell us. We are talking about that enlightenment of technology. We are seeing that you have subjects that are already being taught, that are like the ICT tools, that ICT is being taught. So you are saying that enlightenment of technology. We are saying that already technology is in existence. So you can't say that coding enlightened technology. Yet we are having subjects that are involved in the technology. We are having biology. But when we are studying biology already, we are using technology. Where biology is applied, but use technology. So you can't say time that the technology will be applied. But we are saying if agriculture, the backbone of Uganda, is an optional subject, how can you tell us that coding, which is not even the backbone of Uganda, that you want to make it a compulsory subject? So we are saying that this coding shouldn't be made a compulsory subject, but we are saying that it can be either made an optional subject. And therefore, they come and talk about with the cases. I rest my case.
The panel of judges, I'm going to begin in 1, 2, and 3. The first speaker from the negative side has come here and told us that we have failed to tell them who's going to mark, how coding is going to be marked, how is it going to be settled. But we think that the right thing is getting who is going to be told, who is going to teach coding. And in this case, the farmers who want coding have come up with an idea of online learning platforms like LMS digital learning. It is going to help us learn coding. And what I've got to know that these people are debating a wrong motion, because the motion says that this house would make coding a compulsory subject in all secondary schools, not in all schools. So you should correct your motion, because we are on secondary schools, not on schools. They say that enlargement of technology, that biology also.
Coding should be made a compulsory subject.
Say that even biology is part of technology, but we see that we are going under a rapid evolution of technology, and we need something that can help us catch up with other countries. I'm going to begin by laying my new points. Why coding? Why making coding a compulsory subject? Because coding is going to help us in economic future proofing. The world is moving toward technology evolution. In the future, most high-paying jobs will require some technological knowledge. By making coding compulsory, schools ensure that every child, not just the wealthy one, has a shield to protect their career from being replaced by an AI. As we see, in few years back, PE and Kiswahili came, and only the prepared ones got the jobs for teaching, for what and what, and the unprepared didn't get. Yet now, and again in our countries right now, we need to compete. We need to be a good citizens for our countries. The world is competing high. We need to catch up. Instead, if we don't make coding compulsory right now, we are going to hire expensive foreigners to do us some things. Demystifying technology. Most people use apps and they think they are magic. For sure, just see. Can someone of my opponents tell me how WhatsApp came in place? No, because we don't know coding. But when we learn coding, we shall look behind the curtain. You can come to realize that some social media platforms and games are just tools built, and this stops students from being tech celebs and turn into tech workers. We see that the world is richest people in the world as are application builders. I beg to submit. Ready? Panel resolved. This House would make coding a compulsory subject in all secondary schools. Dear panel, the affirmers came and told us about critical thinking, that this coding helps us in critical thinking. And then one of my negators come and told them about biology. He did not mean that biology is a technology subject, but he meant that biology also creates critical thinking in learners as technology does, as these technology subjects do. We all know in this new curriculum that we have to have a critical, we have to be critical thinkers to answer some questions, to answer some scenarios. We are having some scenarios of biology. A learner has to first read this scenario of biology and critically think to answer this question. Therefore, this biology subject is also making people being is also making learners being critical thinkers, as this technology subject, what according your meaning, that brings critical thinking. It's not the only subject that makes learners being critical thinkers. Also biology, also chemistry, also physics, also other subjects that we learn make us critical thinkers. They bring us creativity in our minds, because a person that critical thinks not granted. A person that critically thinks, that person has ability for creativity. Another thing, if we are having some, not granted, if we are having some subjects like agriculture, you talked about the economics of Uganda, that this coding will help people, not granted, that will help people to get jobs. We are having some subjects like entrepreneurship. This subject is an option subject. If this subject is an option subject, why this coding being made a compulsory subject when we are having other subjects like agriculture, like this entrepreneurship, that we are getting jobs from when we grow, when we grow up, and then make this coding a compulsory subject. Therefore, dear panel, this coding should be made an option subject, because if we make this coding a compulsory subject, yet we are even having ICT. In ICT, we are learning technology. Therefore, we are going to bring confusion in learners. This will be making learners having this curriculum overload. They will have to think beyond. And if we think beyond, we are getting some effects on our bodies. We are going to have, we all know that in this life we are not equal. We are having people that are not having equal brains. So if you make me think beyond I can think. Therefore, I'm getting some things that will disturb me. We are all seeing that this coding is going to bring effect to learners, like eye defects. We all know that when doing coding, we have to use technology. We are going to use laptops, phones, and computers. We are going to get eye defects. We are going to. Therefore, dear panel, I rest my case by saying we should make coding an option subject. Thank you.
In 1, 2, 3, I begin my. This House would make coding a compulsory subject in all secondary schools. We are the farmers. We support the motion. The negators came and talked about agriculture, that agriculture in economics, but we see that agriculture is there, but we are still behind. She talked about entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship does not make use doesn't make use eligible for this for this technological revolution. She talked about ICT. ICT is different from coding because it does not teach how to make apps, whereby panel, we see that coding is a good thing to be made a compulsory subject, because my pre-current speaker talked about economic future proofing. Economic future proofing. The world is traveling at a high speed and the countries are developing, whereby they are developing under the coding, whereby this coding many developed countries. Now, if we look at China, China has developed in coding. Let us to look about the backgrounds of TikTok. TikTok is from China, whereby TikTok was formed in 1985. Granted.
Yeah, we are talking about that TikTok is being used. Says TikTok is being used, but it is being used in order. It is not or it is an optional subject, not a compulsory subject. So, look to us by the using of TikTok, was it used as a
You please sit, because even you don't know what you're talking about. TikTok is not a subject. I'm talking about coding, whereby coding also, like coding, it is making apps, whereby TikTok is an app from coding, whereby in China, TikTok started in 1985. Right now, we are in 2026, whereby it has spent 41 years in existence. Now look at the development of China. China is well developed, whereby that company is giving out what we are calling the government revenue for the government revenue so that the country can be developed. Whereby, if we practice coding, we are also giving big dreams to the students in secondary schools. Some students want to be coders, but just because Uganda does not teach coding and it's not that compulsory, they are lacking their own dreams. So if we extend it to the Ugandan students, coding, like our country, is going to be well developed. We also talked about diminishing technology, whereby technology is something that is lifting up what we call the developed countries. Technology is something that is very sweet, whereby if you practice coding, people are going to be they are going to be interested in technology, whereby they are going to create apps, like they are going to create apps for communication, entertainment, and whatsoever. Meaning, coding is something that is good and relevant into our country. I made my case by saying, Pano, coding, let us make it a compulsory subject for a better future. I made my case.
Read. Panel resolved. This house would make coding a compulsory subject in secondary school. Dear panel, before I go any further, I would like to tell the team affirmative that they failed to rebut our point of curriculum overload, and the second affirmative came and told us that they will create some just like something like LMS, that which will create the space for coding. But this app that we are going to create, it will at times those people will ignore it. Dear panel, we came up whereby they came up by telling us that this coding requires technology, whereby our first negator came and told us that ICT involves the subject that involves technology, and they came and told us that this coding requires critical thinking, whereby our negators came and told us that biology, physics, chemistry, and these are subjects can also be used to make critical thinking. Dear panel, I want to weigh this debate by saying that the same affirmative failed to weigh the debate. That let me weigh it by saying that I saw this motion 100% to the negator, saying because the affirmative failed to tell us how coding is answered, the tools used in coding, and how coding is set for learners to approach. Dear panel, I serve this motion because they failed to tell us, because when our first negator came and told us that if coding is made if agriculture, our backbone, is made an optional subject, why should coding be? Then coding should also denied. Then coding should also be an option subject, because not everyone is interested in coding. Therefore, panel, I read this debate 100%, telling you that team negative wins the motion. Here's my case. Panel result. This house believes that this house would make coding a compulsory subject in secondary schools. Dear panel, I hereby in conclusion say that the proposers failed to rebut
fail to rebut our point of our clash point of curriculum overload, and they fail to tell us how these people, how this will be put into, because how this will be put a comparative subject and does not burden the government. Another thing, dear panel, here in conclusion, I say we win the debate because this coding should be made an optional subject, because if also agriculture was made an optional subject, the backbone of Uganda, why not also coding be made a compulsory, be made an optional subject and be effective to those people that need it, because it's not a necessity to all learners and it brings equality to people. Thank you. I'm going to begin in 1, 2, and 3. The negators came here and asked us how are we going to work with it with coding, and we told them we are going to use a Microsoft organizer. We are going to work hand in hand with the Microsoft organization that worked in Rwanda in 2018, but they failed even to hear that, to notice that. They came here and asked us who will teach. We gave them an answer, and we told them that we are going to use digital learning platforms. They came here and talked about agriculture, but we told them that we are still behind. Yes, agriculture is there, but we are still behind. We are lagging. We are not even counted in the the best countries that are economically stable. They came here and said that we said critical thinking. Yes, we said computer thinking, things about computers. They come here and say that curriculum overload. We told them that it is heavy, yes, right, it is heavy. But why coding? Is coding the one that is going to make it heavy? Because it is already heavy. They told us that it is already heavy. Why don't we remove math? Why don't we remove chemistry? Because it's already heavy. They even failed to tell us how they they even came here and told us that it's not going to help us compete in the world. But they failed to tell us how are we going to compete in the world's economic competition.
Problem solving, of course, is not other subjects like guys, over time there is a high incentive for students to have capacity. So artificial intelligence will be taking them to how will this thing happen? So these guys are able to say that oh, the needs shall have the right and they will know what's important. They will know how it will happen. But it's an assumption that rather
Kutinga kwata